Hello students, in last class we have learned the different types of honeybees, that is the queen bee, worker bees and drones, and the role of hormones and the pheromones in their life cycles. Then this class will discuss about the life cycle of the honeybee. Okay, we will discuss about the life cycle of honeybee. Now the life cycle, that is from the egg to the adult stage. The life cycle of the honeybees is from the eggs to the adults. We will discuss the each phase of the life cycle, that is the egg, then the larvae, pupa and the adult. Is it clear? So this all we have done in the previous classes. Now the life cycle. Now the life cycle of the honeybee, you know that there are the 4 stages in the life cycle of the honeybee, that is the egg, larva, pupa and adult. Egg, larva, pupa and adult. Now what happens that in the previous class we have discussed about the nuptial flight, that is the queen bee after the complete development, that is 3 to 5 days of her complete development, she comes out of hive with the number of drones and shows the nuptial flight. That is, she mates in the flying itself during the flight with the many number of drones. Now once she mates with the number of drones, she enters again into the hive and then starts laying the eggs after 2 to 3 days of mating. Now once the mating is over, her responsibility is the laying of eggs, and we have discussed in the previous class the queen bee lays the many number of eggs, that is 1000 to 2000 of the eggs per day. Now each stage will these are the 4 stages will here, that is the eggs, then the larvae, pupa and the adult. Is it clear? So now one by one we will discuss here, that is the egg. Is it clear? Now you know that the egg is the first stage of the life cycle. Will here the queen bee start laying the eggs in a single hexagonal wax cell. The queen bee starts laying after 3 days of mating. The queen bee start laying the eggs in the each egg in a hexagonal wax cell in the hive. Now the egg which is laid is a very small, white and a rice grain like, elongated. Okay, it is elongated like a rice grain. It is and small, white and elongated like a rice grain. Now there are 2 types of eggs we have discussed, that is the queen bee lays, that is the one is the fertilized egg and the another one is the unfertilized eggs. Is it clear? So the bees have 32 number of chromosomes. The fertilized eggs have the 32 number of chromosomes. 32 is a diploid set of chromosomes. Now these diploid sets of chromosomes, that is the eggs having the 32 number of chromosomes, are laid in the worker cells or the queen cells. Is it clear? This I told that is in the previous class, that is the fertilized eggs may develop into the queen or may develop into the workers. So these 32 chromosome numbered eggs, that is the diploid eggs, are laid in the 2 types of cells, that is in the queen cells and in the worker cells. Is it clear? Now the eggs which are unfertilized, they are laid in the eggs are laid in the drone cells. So that is what here the fertilized eggs will become the queen or worker, whereas the unfertilized eggs will become drone. Now the eggs which are laid at the first, they will be vertical. Okay, that's what the eggs which are laid, they always stand vertical for a day. The next day the eggs will lean towards the wall. Okay, the eggs will lean towards the wall. When the egg is laid at the first it will be erect and elongated, and then on the second day it will lean towards the wall. And then on the third day it lays on its side. I will show you this one here. These are the eggs. Now the eggs which are laid on the first day, they stand vertical, and on the second day they lean towards the wall, and on the third day they lay on their sides. Is it clear? Now the eggs will hatch into the larva. after 3 days. The eggs will hatch into the larva after 3 days. So for any of these, all eggs have the same developmental period, that is all the eggs hatch into 3 days. Okay, that's what the eggs. So eggs are what? They are single egg, they are laid in the each hexagonal cells, then they are white, elongated, rice grain sized. Is it clear? Initially when laid, they are all erect, elongated. On the second day they will be leaning towards the wall of the cell, and third day they lay on their sides. So the eggs will hatch in 3 days. Now the next is the larva. See, this is the larva. Larva is a white colored. Okay, larva is a white colored. They are the legless, blind, coiled. Okay, present on the bottom of the cell. Okay, bottom of the cell. That is what. Now the body of this larva can be divided into the 3 parts. That is the head, thorax and abdomen. Head, thorax and abdomen. Now for the first 3 days, once the egg is hatched, the larva is formed. The hatched egg is a larva, okay, which is what? A blind, legless and coiled on the bottom of the cells after hatching. The body is divided into head, thorax and abdomen. Body is divided into head, thorax and abdomen. Now all these larvae are fed with the royal jelly. For the first 3 days, all the larvae are fed with the royal jelly. Now after 3 days, the one which is to be made or which is destined to be a queen bee is continued with the royal jelly food. Okay, at the initial stage, all the larvae for 3 days they are fed with the royal jelly. Now after 3 days they are taken, okay, that is the one which is destined to be a queen bee, that is to be continued with the royal jelly food itself, whereas the other larvae are continued to feed with the honey and the pollen, that is called as the bee bread. Okay, the other larvae are continued, the royal jelly food is stopped after 3 days. Okay, then the remaining larvae are continued with the bee bread, we call bee bread. Bee bread is nothing but it is a mixture of honey and pollen prepared by worker. Now the larval period is different for the different types of bees. That is, queen bee has a different larval period, the workers have a different larval period, and the drones have different larval periods. Is it clear? Now what is that? The larval period for the queen is 5 to 5.5 days. The larval period for the queen bees is 5 to 5.5 days, whereas the worker bees has 6 days and the drones have 6.5 days. Now these larvae are the feeding one. Okay, they feed, they grow, they shed their skins. Okay, they shed their skins also. Okay, that is what they called as. Then that is called as molting, and the period between the two moltings, is called as instars. And there are totally 6 larval instars are there. There are 6 larval instars are there. So what it is? That is the feeding stops at the final instar, that is the 6th instar. Once the feeding is stopped, the worker bee caps the cell and covers it. In a brief, I will just pardon this. The larva, after hatching of the eggs, the larva emerges out, which are white in color, they are blind, they are quite coiled at the bottom of the cell, and the body is divided into head, thorax and abdomen. All the larvae for the 3 days are fed with the royal jelly. The remaining the larvae which destined or is to be becoming the queen, they are continued with the royal jelly food, whereas the remaining larvae which is going to be a worker or the drones, they will be going to feed with the bee bread. Okay, we call it as bee bread. A bee bread, I told it is nothing but a mixture of honey and pollens prepared by the workers. Okay, prepared by the workers. Now the larvae of the queen, the larvae of the workers, larvae of the drones have different developmental period. That is, the larvae of the queen has 5 to 5.5 days for the development, and the workers has 6 days, whereas the drones have 6.5 days, 6.5 days. Now all these larvae, it grows and sheds the skin, 5 times, There are 5 moltings and 6 instars. Okay, there are 5 moltings and 6 instars. That they shed the skin, that is called as the molting. The period of between the moltings is called as what? The instars. There are 6 instars. At the final instar, that is the 6th instar, they stop feeding. And once they stop feeding, the worker bee, they close the cap of the cell. That is, worker bees cap their cells, okay, with a thin layer of wax. Now that is about the larva. Then the next stage is the pupa. Now after complete development for 9 days, after complete developments of 9 days, the larva spins a cocoon around itself. The larva spins a cocoon around the itself on the 10th day and begins to pupate. It is a non-feeding stage now. It will cover with the pupa, that is what it will become pupate. It is non-feeding, but it is non-feeding and inactive stage. Now here also there are a different developmental period in the pupa for each the queen bee, workers and drones. There is a 7.5 days for the queen, 12 days for the worker and 14.5 days for the drones. See here, all the eggs have the same hatching period, that is 3 days. Then for the larval period, queen 6.5 days, 5 to 5.5 days, worker 6 days and the drones 6.5 days. Same way here for this one pupa stage, it will last for the 7.5 for the queen and then 12 days for the worker and 14.5 days for the drones. Now during the pupation, the body structure like head, thorax and abdomen and wings develop, and they grows darker in the pupal stage, and inside the cocoon the body structures starts developing. For example, the head, thorax, abdomen and as well as the wings develop, and the body grows darker. Now for this all development, the energy is needed, and the energy is provided by the stored fats. Now that is what the pupa, this is the pupal stage. See here. So these are the pupa. So once when they stop feeding, they start spinning a cocoon around itself and they become a pupate. The next stage is the adult one. Now adult, once pupa has transformed into an adult, where it is inside the cocoon now, once when it's developed into an adult, it has to come out or emerge out of the cell by biting away or eating away the caps of the cell which was covered by the worker bee. So the adult emerges out of the cell by biting the layer of wax which is covered on the cell. Is it clear? That is the emergence of the adult from the cocoon. Now the newly emerged bee is light in color or grayish in color. Based on their genetic content, the adult bee may become a queen or may become a worker or may be a drones. They may be what? Workers, they may be drones or they may be a queen. So based on their, it is all genetic contents. And as well as the feeding during their larval stages. The adult may become queen, the adult may become drone, the adult may become worker. It's all because of their genetic content and as well as their type of feeding during the larval stages. Is it clear? Then complete adult stage or the complete development of these honeybees takes, for the queen it takes 15 to 16 days, and for the workers it takes 20 to 21 days, and for the drones 22 to 24 days to become a completely developed. Is it clear? So that's from the egg to the larvae to the pupa and to the adult. It takes complete 15 to 16 days for the queen, 20 to 21 days for the worker, and 22 to 24 days for the drones for the complete development. Now the body structures, that's the morphology of the each bee, will be different as per their functions. As per their functions, they will be having, the workers will be having a different morphological structure, whereas the queen will be having a different morphological structures, and the drones also has their different morphological structures. We have discussed this all in my previous classes. That is, they have the different morphology based on the different functions. Now the adult honeybee will be having a different performance. We have discussed it. So that is what here we have. This is the table which I have brought here for the complete development of timetable. It is the queen, the worker, the drone, all will be having what? That is the 3 days, okay, 3 days for their development, whereas the larva, queen larva 5.5 days, pupa 7.5 days, and total 16 days. Same way here, the queen larva takes 5.5 days, workers will take 6 days, drone will take 6.5 days, pupa 7.5 days, worker 12 days, okay, drone 14.5 days, and complete development will take place for the queen 16 days, worker 21 days, and the drones 24 days. So this is what the diagram, that is the queen lay the eggs. See, the egg which is laid is what? It is elongated and erect at the first day. Okay, so the larval of 6 days, 10 days, pupa on 15th, 18th, and adult 21 days. So that's about the life cycle of the honeybees. Is it clear? Now, what are the uses of honeybees? Okay, what are the uses of the honeybees? See, the main purpose of the honeybee is making a honey. Okay, that's what they have, the production of honey. But apart from that, the most important part during this process is the pollinating of the flowers. Okay, though the honeybees collect the nectars, okay, and pollens for preparation of honey or the other substances, but during this process, the very important part of their life activity carries out, that is the pollinating of the flowers, which is the most important part. Without pollination, we will not get the varieties or the diversities of the plants. Now, that is what they helpful in the pollinating the flowers. Then they produce the different types of useful substances. Now the useful substances, that is the honey, then the honey bee wax. Is it clear? Propolis, we have discussed propolis. Propolis is a substance. They also use it for the polishing of their cells, etc., repairing. Then the pollens, okay, pollens, etc. Now, what is the use of the honey? There are vast or wide uses of the honey. The main sources of the natural sweets for preparing cakes, breads, biscuits, or many of the bakery products, etc. Is it clear? That is, the honey is used for these all things, preparing the cakes, breads, okay, biscuits, etc. A main source of sweet it is. Then apart from that, some of the tonics and syrups are used by the honey is used to prepare the tonics and syrups. Most of the cough syrups, you will find that there is a content of honey in that. Is it clear? There is a content of honey. So the powerful tonics and some of the syrups are used for the by using the honey. Now the honey also has some of the medicinal value. It is a mild laxative, antiseptic, and as well as sedative. It helps in the clearing of the bowel. Is it clear? That is it is a laxative, mild laxative. It is a sedative, and as well as it acts as an antiseptic. in the anemic people, okay, in the anemic people, if the regular honey is taken, then it helps in increasing their hemoglobin content. So that is the very useful for the anemic patients, and it also prevents the cough, cold and fever. So there is a lots of medicinal value the honey has. Then apart from that, it has the it is a natural sweetener also, which is used in many of the production of bakery items. Then what is the bee wax used for? Bee wax is used for making a cosmetics, face creams and polishes. Okay, bee wax is used in many of the cosmetic products, as well as in the face creams and the polishes. It is also used in the manufacturing of paints, candles, carbon papers, lubricants, etc., and as well as it has a medicinal importance also. Okay, so with these all things, that is, we have discussed it today here, the life cycle of honeybee. Okay, life cycle of honeybee and the uses of honeybee and uses of honey as well as the honey wax. Is it clear? So in this chapter, with this part, we will conclude here in a very short brief, that is the life cycle. Just remember, there are four stages: egg, larva, pupa and adult. Is it clear? That is, each will be having a different periods. Is it clear? Then apart from that, we have discussed what are the uses of the honey, etc. Thank you. We will discuss the remaining parts, that is the how the honey hives are prepared. There are different types of honey hives are prepared, that is beekeeping, modern beekeeping and the traditional beekeeping. We will discuss this all in my next video. If any doubts are there, you can have a comment or you can send a message to me, and if it's there, we will go for the next. So for the further videos, you can subscribe, and if you like it, just press the like, and if you have any comments, if you want any suggestions, you can write that also in the comment box. Thank you.